And thank you all for coming today to today's webinar. Today's webinar is a closing conversation with Georgia, and reflections on its CBIT project. We're going to have a conversation-style webinar with representatives of the CBIT Georgia project and the regional coordinator for the CBIT GSP project. And the outcome, the idea with this webinar is to give a deep dive on the project's outcomes, challenges, and success story. This is a part of a series of closing conversations with national CBIT projects that have recently concluded or about to conclude. So again, we're really thankful to you for coming, and hope that this is a good knowledge sharing and a good activity that is helpful for you. And we want you to tune up here today and in future webinars. We actually started this series a while ago with the conclusion of CBIT Serbia project. So we're really excited to restart it now with our colleagues from CBIT Georgia. We will be sharing more information, so stay tuned for future events in the coming months. Before we start today's conversation, I just would like to give a brief overview of what is the CBIT GSP project, what are the CBIT projects, for those of you who may not be familiar with the project activities. So a little bit of background. This series of events are organized by the CBIT GSP project, which stands for the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency Global Support Program. And this webinar series has a triple objective. We want to give countries an opportunity to reflect on their CBIT project, to provide an outlook on what are the next steps regarding transparency, and to share knowledge and lessons learned with other countries and transparency practitioners. A little bit of info about the CBIT. The CBIT was established through a COP decision in COP21, and it's funded and administered by the GEF. It supports countries in meeting ETF requirements, and currently it has a broad project portfolio of 89 projects over 87 countries, including individual country projects, regional and global projects. This is regarding the CBIT GSP project. This is also funded by the GEF, and it's implemented by UNEP and executed by the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center. It officially started in April 2022, and it will last until the end of 2026 with a budget of approximately 9 million. Many of the main objectives of the CBIT GSP project are to support the transition to BTRs, to assist countries in the submissions of NCs, and to provide one-stop shop for transparency, as well as mainstreaming gender considerations. We deliver on these objectives through multiple mediums of support that are here highlighted. For example, the space for regional transparency networks, direct support to countries in prioritized areas, in-country trainings and activities, regional and global workshops, quality review of transparency reports, etc. One of the main mediums of support, however, is the Climate Transparency Platform, which is a one-stop shop for climate transparency. The platform was launched at the UNFCCC subsidiary bodies in Bonn in June 23, and this platform has substituted the previous CBIT Global Coordination Platform. It provides multiple features such as country profiles with specific transparency information, project pages for each CBIT or GEF enabling activity or other transparency initiatives, a dedicated space for transparency networks, communities of practice for knowledge exchange, a request for support portal for matters of climate transparency, etc. You are more than welcome to check it out in the link below or using the QR code shown here. Also, if you have any doubts or any questions and you want to reach out to us, you're more than welcome to do so at our email contact@climate-transparency-platform.org. Today, now we are going to start after this overview of the CBIT and the CBIT GSP project, and we are going to start with an overview of Georgia's CBIT project, as well as a reflection on the impact of the project in the country's MRV system, transparency initiatives, etc. And we're going to finalize with a regional perspective of implementation of CBIT projects, what is the road to the BTR, etc. Afterwards, we're going to finish with a round of Q&A, sorry, and we will finish with a quick questionnaire, a Mentimeter, just to gather your feedback on the efficacy and on how interesting was the webinar for you. So with this being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to welcome you to the two experts that are joining us today. Mr. Kakaveri Mdivani, Chief Technical Advisor of the Regional Center for the Caucasus, and Ms. Lajana Bundalo, Network Coordinator for the Eurasia Transparency Network of the CBIT GSP program. Welcome both. Happy to have you here today.
Hello, Alejandro. Thank you very much for this tremendous opportunity for us to share the bigger audience, the findings of CBIT Georgia.
Thank you so much, Kaka, of course.
So if you allow me, I'll share the screen.
Sure. Yes, we will start with an overview of the Georgia project, and please, the floor is yours, Kaka.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for joining this webinar. In the next 15 minutes, we would be happy to present the CBIT project main findings. We will start with the objectives highlighted under the project, also the activities that was developed within the project to achieve these objectives, what results we achieved really, and what was the lessons learned during this project. We also would have a chance to share with you our vision about the next steps. Within the objectives, I would like to highlight the two main objectives of the project. The first one was about to improve the national GHG inventory with the country-specific emission factors identification, also the new activity data searching inside the country, and also the quality assurance, quality control system development within the Georgian GHG inventory system. And the last one will be used as an example during this presentation to show you what kind of challenges we faced and how we addressed them. The objective 2 of our CBIT project was to develop the NDC tracking system, which is poorly new for the most countries because we just started the implementation of our NDCs. For this, we considered the most important part to have an indicator selection for each policies and measures identified by the government, and also selecting the GHG inventory data as a tracker for NDC progress. With these two objectives, we launched the project almost 4 years ago during the pandemic process. And the first one, let me concentrate on the improve of national GHG inventory. Improvement of national GHG inventory give us the assignment to have a study on the existing practice. So what is happening inside the country with regards to the quality assurance and quality control system. And since Georgia is a developing party under the Kyoto Protocol or Convention, Kyoto Protocol or Paris Agreement, our work, so the work on quality control was taken by the team leader who did the national GHG inventory, who leaded the national GHG inventory in Georgia. As you already know, the developing parties received the support from the JEF to implement this kind of projects under the other national communication or the biennial updates reports. So both of these channels were used by the Georgia to have the whole time series GHG inventory ready. And during the analysis of the existing practice, we find out that there was no specific personnel for QA/QC in Georgia available. The next task for us was to have a desk review. Desk review in terms of what kind of guidance we have under the IPCC. The well-known Volume 1 and Chapter 6 covers this part, and also the country examples. We have many developed countries who has already established this process, and few developing parties that are already merging this part of the work. So working on this mode, we made some analysis and we compared. We compared the existing situation in Georgia with the disk review results. And the results in the juxtaposing of these findings, I would like to highlight a few of them to you. That as a team leader is overloaded, but her coordination role is an important one. Is an important task to have the process from the beginning to the end implementing and ensure that it's moving forward. So also some examples presents the overcomplicated system. Overcomplicated in terms of launching the quality assurance, quality control process in Georgia. And also the IPCC guidelines gives the basics for the operation. That was our approach for this work. The analysis of the risks was another part to have a selection, the direction how we want to move in this way forward. And the analysis of risks showed the two major things that we have to take into account the resources, what we have currently, and our financial resources, a JEF-funded BTR NC, and also the human resources. So we have a very limited experts who are able to do the national GAG inventory and also do the quality control, quality assurance procedures. So we were very careful on this, making the decision. So we took all of this risk into account. And the second one is about the acceptability. So what is the level of the government to accept this work that is newly added in a process? And what is the level of acceptability of the experts to handle this new task that they never did it before? In a scale that we are gonna to offer during the implementation. And the last part of the work is, of course, the elaborate country-specific quality assurance, quality control system. And in our case, it looked at quality assurance, quality control plan, general quality control, sector-specific quality controls, quality assurance, verification, and archiving. And it was guided. But what was the difference with the guidance was that to have a general quality control person in a team who would go through the whole document and whole reporting information to have an understanding what is the level of comparability of the document and the information presented there, and what is the level of completeness of the information that is reported under the process. And we also have in the inventory team the quality assurance expert that never been before. So the quality assurance process is always done separately, and UNDP did a lot of work in previous years for this work. The second thing was about, as I already said, is about something new. So something new we have to search and we have to develop from the scratch. So for that, we also went in a direction to have a desk review on this because we don't have any kind of experience in Georgia before that regarding the NTC tracking. So for desk review, we followed the MPGs, and you know that we had a some kind of turbulences under the negotiations. We were waited several years to have finally approved the MPGs that hindered our project. That was a challenge for us to overcome. But anyway, we managed to do this. Well, the international community managed to have an MPGs and we were analyzed it. And also the second part of what I would like to highlight, we analyzed the national legislation, not in terms of the what is a climate national legislation, but we were interested how how the strategies and action plans were taken into account by the national legislation. So that was our most important part. So we're not interested in climate change itself, but we were interested in legislative fundament. So what is offered by the country, what have to be done to follow this work. So with this analysis, we made some kind of conclusions, the comparison of MPGs and the national legislation. The first one was about to use the national legal agreements for infrastructure of our MPGs, for our MPGs development. Sorry, NDC tracking development. So that was the core part. And another thing was about to find the gaps for the MPG functioning. So our national legislation have some kind of infrastructure, how the action plans needs to be monitored, and but also we need to have more information to track NDC progress that was guided by under the MPG. So we were analyze these gaps and also find the alternative solutions. So that was our goal after the juxtaposing these findings. And one more thing that was the core of our work, since the NDC is a national goal of GHG emission reductions or adaptation, so it needed to involve the key stakeholders in a process. So the key stakeholders were real implementers of the uh, uh, mitigation activities. So analysis of the risks. Analysis of the risks for this, I would like to concentrate on the third part. So this is a maintenance. So our team had a vision to develop something that will be kept within the system, within the national system. So that was our key part of the risk to create a sort of the sustainability of this. So what would be the easiest way to maintain this process after the project ends? So for this, we were developed we elaborated the NDC tracker that was based on the online system that involved the information on policies and measures, progress, and also they estimate the progress achieved at a national level. And that was the track the NDC targets. That was our scope on this. The next one was about the results. Based on all of this work where we developed, we finally achieved to have, after 3.5 year work, by law, the ministerial decree on QA/QC. This is a draft version. It's not decree not adopted yet because everything is under testing with the BTR. And the second one is an online climate online data management system that Georgia developed to have the all information for individual mitigation activities be reported within the system, and the general public audience were allowed to have the access on the national-wide information in terms of the national NDC unconditional commitments are met or not. So with this, we still have a room to share with you the lessons learned within the process. The first one, as I have already mentioned, the stakeholders has a key role in the process in terms of they can always bring the new vision for the system development. We are talking about the quality assurance, quality control. that is super important for our academic sector. So science are interested in how much they can rely on our data or not. That's the one thing. Another finding from the study stakeholder side was to have them access the comparability between the national comparability between the NDC unconditional targets and real estimates of the GHG inventory under the GHG inventory process. So that needs to be compared. The second one is about the address them in accordance to the strategy. So the strategy for our side was that we were developing something that is really, really new and unique that never been happened before in Georgia. So that's why we decided to address, first of all, the stakeholders who have really, really good knowledge in the process, to give them a room to create a skeleton for the work, and only afterwards open the discussion with the different stakeholders. Only this way was from our side the way that it really works, and it gives you the good understanding that you are in the correct direction. And last thing, what I would like to share with all of you, as Alejandro has already mentioned, some of you are completing your BTRs and starting with, CBITs and starting with a BTR. So for us, what the most important thing was that the CBIT creates a new matters. So since it creates the new matters, our target was to create something solid ground that will develop in future. We are not concentrated to have everything done in the first stage of the CBIT, everything purified and the sophisticated way that never been improved and anymore and never be touched in future. No, that is a starting point and we have to concentrate on this. And the second thing is that we have to take into account the level of acceptability of the country. So different stakeholders, what are their level to accept the information that we are giving them to analyze and digest and proceed. With this, we still have a next steps accordingly. And first of all, this is an immediate actions related to the elaborate the BTRs with the findings and deliverables of the CBIT project that's already delivered to the MEPA, the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture, who is an initiator of the whole process, and a little bit further steps on this to enhance the national system that allows the country to have every part in a process in a coordinated way, to have a process from the initiating of the data, processing it, and reporting, and finally reviewing it. So that's our ultimate goal for all of this process. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I would be happy to answer your questions or hear your feedbacks during the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kaka. That was a great presentation, very insightful, and I have to say also very interesting. We had a previous chat last week as well, preparing this, and I had a chance to see the NDC tracking tool that the project had developed, and it was also very detailed, very interesting, easy to understand, and in a very good had a very good interface from qualitative data into quantitative inputs that were supporting the enhancement of the inventory. So I think this project really has two very important outcomes. Not only the NDC tracking tool and it's fully functioning, but also the draft for policy. And I hope that comes to fruition soon, because it's really the most efficient way to have a standardized system to reach primary data collectors, to find a way of a workflow for using, standardizing that data. And I think the Georgia project is a very good example of that. So thank you again. I am sure that there will be a lot of questions in the Q&A. I am myself already thinking about one or two Before we go to the next part of the webinar with Slajana, I would like to do a little bit of a icebreaker game exercise, whatever you want to call it. I want to ask you and Slajana, and of course, all of you are also more than welcome to answer in the chat. I just want to make a couple of rapid fire questions. There's no correct answer. Just want to see you thinking on the spot, basically. So let's just go directly there. And of course, like I said, the audience there, you're more than welcome to write in the chat. Let us know. I think it will be good to participate and also to get to know all of you, because we're going to be doing this fairly regularly. Transparency community is also we all end up knowing each other, so I think it's a good exercise. So I'm going to start with the first question. Do you say CBIT or do you say CBIT?
CBIT.
I say CBIT.
I say CBIT myself as well. Okay, next one. For how long have you both worked with climate transparency?
More than 10 years. Sorry?
Sorry, what did you say, Kaka? Didn't hear you. More than 10 years for Slajana.
Yeah, the transparency was created in the and after the Paris Agreement was adopted, so
since the very beginning.
Since then, yeah.
Did you participate in negotiating the ETF?
I do.
No, me not.
All right, me neither. Have you been a part of preparing an NC, BUR, or the upcoming BTR? I think this one will be a check for many of you.
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Do you prefer the term transparency or MRV?
Transparency.
Yes. I also prefer transparency.
It really depends who you ask, but I agree. What comes to your mind when thinking of BTR and ETF?
Deadline.
I agree with you.
I think tight deadline, homework.
Yes.
And the last one is, what is your country's biggest priority for transparency right now?
Oh, that's a good question. So to provide the data that pursues everybody that we're meeting NDC targets.
It's not a small task.
Indeed.
Yeah.
For my country, the biggest challenge is to make a functional institutional setup in order to be able to respond to all these transparency requirements.
All right, thank you both, and thank all of you who wrote on the chat, who participated. Really, thank you all for your inputs. We're going to continue now with the next part of the webinar. But before we do that, I would like all of you to turn your cameras on and do a quick picture. My colleague Juliette will take a couple of pictures of all of us. So I hope this is not too early, not too late in some locations. See a lot of people with the camera on, which is great. Right, Juliette is taking some pictures already, some screenshots. I can see her on the other side of the screen, rushing for all the pictures. So that's great. All right, thank you all so much. Thank you all. We will share this presentation. We will share the pictures and all the materials in the event page of the Climate Transparency Platform, which my colleagues will be putting in the chat for you to know. All right, so for the next session, I want to invite Slajana to, she already has her camera on. Hello, Slajana, welcome again. And as I mentioned before, we wanted to give a regional perspective on CBIT project implementation and the lessons learned in implementing transparency projects in the region. With emphasis in the projects that have been completed so far. Also, if you have some success stories that you want to share, again, as with always, I invite people in the chat to put their inputs in the chat. In the Q&A, feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, and we will have time to have a quick conversation as long as the time allows us. So, Slađana, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Alejandro, very much. And thank you, Kaka, for this very, very insightful and interesting presentation with lots of details that I think that can be and serve as an example of good practices to the other countries from the region and globally, actually. So as Alejandro already mentioned, my name is Slađana Bundalo, and I'm regional coordinator for Eurasia Transparency Network within the CBIT GSP program. And in the next few minutes, I'll share some overview of CBIT projects information focusing on the Eurasia region. So let me just share my presentation. So can you see it? I'll put it on the full screen now. So let's see and let's talk a bit about the CBIT projects in the Eurasia Transparency Network. So in generally, as a part of the Paris Agreement, all countries agreed to an enhanced transparency framework. Oops, it goes by himself. So yes, all countries agreed to an enhanced transparency framework for action and support. And in that context, CBIT supports countries to strengthen national institutions for transparency-related activities in line with national priorities, since the national institutions play a key role in implementing climate commitments. Strengthened institutions can effectively manage the data collection, reporting, and verification processes, ensuring by that accurate and reliable information for climate action. Also, the initiative provides relevant tools, training, and assistance for meeting the provisions of the Article 13 of the Paris Agreement. And these tools actually facilitate reporting, tracking progress, and enhancing transparency. CBIT also aims to support continuous improvement of transparency over time, since the transparency is not static and it evolves actually over the time. By fostering a learning culture, CBIT encourages countries to identify gaps, learn from experiences, and adapt their transparency systems to national circumstances. Also, regular assessment, peer reviews, and capacity building initiatives contribute to gradual enhancement of the national transparency practices. So, looking globally, priorities of national CBIT projects per type of the activities are mostly focused to building technical capacities and institutional arrangements to enhance transparency reporting. So you can see here a global overview, and most of the projects provided support to tracking mitigation progress, which is 86% of the CBIT projects all around the world. Development of national inventories in 78% of the projects, tracking adaptation progress in 65%, enhancement of the NDC 58, and tracking progress related to support needed and received is prioritized in 43% of the CBIT projects. When it comes to the countries of the Eurasian network, that actually consisting of 8 countries, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia, Moldova, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Serbia, and Turkey. This situation in context of the CBIT project is different from those countries that have already completed their CBIT projects to those that are preparing their project proposals to ensure the funding for the projects. Also, as you can see in this table, Serbia has already completed its first CBIT and the second is under preparation. North Macedonia also has completed the project. Georgia's CBIT is in final stage, as well as Montenegro and Bosnia and Herzegovina. In Turkey, the concept for CBIT project is just approved, and Moldova is in the phase of the preparation of the project concept. Also, the project implementation is in the region is supported by different agencies, and in most of the countries that is UNDP, but also there are also FAO and UNEP supporting countries within the region. Within the national projects in the region, they are focusing to support countries to Euro-Asia to improve their climate reporting within the ETF, and specifically to enhance their institutional arrangements, raise technical capacities, improve planning and reporting, and also very important to foster continuous learning. In regard of the institutional arrangements, CBIT projects in the region support countries to build institutional capacities to enable ETF-aligned climate reporting, specifically focusing on GHG inventory improvement, NDC tracking, adaptation of tracking and climate finance, but also provided support to development of necessary legislative framework. This involves improving technical capacities and expertise, governance structures, and coordination mechanisms to effectively manage data collection, reporting, verification processes, etc., etc. As of technical capacities, the CBIT in the region provided support to the countries to enhance development of the GHG inventory, emission projections, and NDC tracking, and for establishment of the national MRV systems for NDC tracking and reporting. Also, support has been provided in transparency planning and reporting, and more specifically, supported development of long-term low-emission development strategies, revision of the NDCs, but also in gender mainstreaming in transparency reporting with the development of the specific monitoring framework of gender indicators and the action plans. And finally, the national CBIT projects in the Euro-Asia supported learning, including many technical trainings, development of the knowledge products and guidelines, peer learning, and exchange experiences within the region. So yes, we had a great chance a few minutes ago to hear experiences from Georgia, but in overall, based on the project reviews, reports, and shared other countries' experiences, here are some lessons and recommendations summarized for the region. It is stressed that country-specific and functional institutional and legal setup is key precondition for enabling effective climate reporting according to the ETF requirements. Also, it is suggested that already in the project designing stage, the special attention need to be paid to ensure sustainability of future results, tools, systems, and arrangements. Experience also suggests that relevant stakeholders need to be identified and included in the process from the beginning in order to raise their capacities and enable and sustain future continuous reporting. General conclusion is also that project effects are highly dependent on the responsiveness, commitment, and goodwill of the governments. CBIT also is recognized by countries as a unique opportunity to improve their reporting abilities and to meet requirements of the Enhanced Transparency Framework and Paris Agreement. General conclusion is also that governmental institutions using the MRV systems are short-staffed in terms of the personnel associated with data collection and reporting for transparency. And also the CBIT is recognized as an opportunity to ensure sustainable building of national institutional capacity and expertise for transparency. As a result of the project, the intersectoral cooperation for addressing some complex issues such as climate change adaptation and mitigation fostered development of closer and more transparent collaboration of different stakeholders on climate change matters and related policy development, which is really of crucial importance. Some conclusions stress that establishment of the ETF and MRV systems is a continuous process, not just ad hoc activity, and it requires systematic effort, teamwork, and full dedication of all relevant national institutions. Capacity building is actually necessity in all stages and for all ETF components and for all key actors. Also, countries suggest that exchange of the experiences and using the best practice of other countries was actually of much help for enhancement of their national ETF processes. So, as mentioned before, we are approaching to the deadline for submission of the first BTRs. So, in the Eurasia network, most of the countries ensured funding and started with development of their first BTRs. Namely, Bosnia and Herzegovina is implementing project for development of first BTR combined with the development of fifth national communication and second BTR. Georgia is also implementing a project for development of first BTR and fifth national communication. Moldova is developing a first BTR. Montenegro, first BTR and fourth national communication. Serbia, also first BTR combined with the fourth national communication and second BTR. And Turkey is working on development of its first BTR, ninth national communication and second BTR. Currently, we can say that comparing countries within the region, some countries are a bit advanced in preparation of their BTRs. For instance, Montenegro has already submitted its national inventory report, while, as we see, Georgia is also in advanced stage preparing the national inventory, tracking NDC, etc., etc. Moldova is also developing and working on their GAG inventory, etc. But also there are some countries that just started with project implementation. They are forming the teams and engaging the national stakeholders, etc., etc. So very initial stage. However, considering the overall status of the BTR projects, we honestly believe that most of the countries in the region will be ready to support their BTRs by deadline in December in 2024. So this was, in short, overview of the situation with CBIT and BTR projects in the region. I'll stop here. And Alejandro, thank you for your attention. And Alejandro, over to you.
Thank you so much, Lajana. Thank you for your presentation. I think it's also has a lot of good insights. I want to invite the audience as well to write if you have any lessons learned, if you have any recommendations that you want to share with the group. Now we have a Q&A, and also feel free to write us. If you are working on a national CBIT project or regional CBIT project and want to participate in this webinar series and want to collaborate with us, feel free to reach out to us. We will be happy to work it out with you. I also think, Slatjana, is really interesting. You are showcasing the status to the BTR, and I think it's really interesting that finance is being provided and the countries are securing finance for the BTR and beyond, and in many cases linked to the next round of the BTR, the next MC, just to ensure a smooth transition to the new reporting requirements, which is really positive to see. So again, want to thank you and thank Kaka and all the team for the CBIT Georgia. Thank you so much for your availability, for your eagerness to collaborate with us in this webinar series. Many thanks to all of you. Right now, before we go to the final remarks, let's open some space for Q&A. We can see already several hands up. I saw one comment early on during the webinar from Jacobo Cotto from Guatemala, and his question is for you, Kaka. Did you make some on-the-ground activities to enhance the insights showed during the CBIT project, or is this planned for the near future?
Thank you, Jacobo, for your question. So I'd like to say that ground activities, as an example, so we had a chance to work on the agriculture sector and develop the country-specific data. As you know, IPCC provides the regional data, but unfortunately, since the Caucasus region is very special, that's not comparable the data what is presented under the IPCCs. Because of this, the previous GAG inventories, we had a high level of uncertainty. And our ground activity was related to have a research on this. And we addressed the under the enteric fermentation and manure management to our farmers to have national specific data for the agriculture sector. And since I'm holding the first draft already in agricultural sector GAG inventory, I can tell you that the figures are really changed. Not just a 1 or 2%, but really changed. And for this work, I definitely thank to our National Statistics Office, because these people did a tremendous work for just a short of the time.
Thank you, Kaka. We're going to go to the next question. We have a couple hands up. The first one is from Dr. Fuat Pumbatov from Azerbaijan. The floor is yours. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kaka, my friend from Georgia, our neighboring country. I would like to greet all of you from the co-presidency country and like to wish all the best. And you're welcome to our country this year in November. I'm delighted from the presentation of my friend, and that's a great job. It's a great job done, and we have very good interaction, very good cooperation with Georgia. To share our experience in the preparation of our BTR, even the CBIT project as well. We have also some, improvement of our international, our national system of MRV system in line with ECF requirements, MPG requirements, and this is very challenging issue in order to reform all this system of mainly the big challenge is the data collection. As you know, that this is the legacy of Soviet Union, and we could to reform our system of the data collection and the main sector of energy sector in our country. And this is also challenging because the base year of 1990s, there was a lot of uncertainties in this year, and we have to recalculate our data, our level of emissions. This is also another issue. But we are also we are going to also to elaborate some very interesting, very very challenging new initiative for COP29 in mitigation related and adaptation as well. That's why I'd like to thank all of you for inviting me to having some very good knowledge from these presentations. Please share this presentation with our countries, and it will be appreciated from your side. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you, Dr. Fuad. Of course, we will share all the materials, and Kaka, over to you if you want to have some feedback.
Indeed, definitely. Thank you, Fuad, for your comment. And I would start with the huge thank to Azerbaijan for hosting this year. Then we have a first time the Caucasus Cup, so I will call like that. And congratulations for that. And I understand that you have a huge workload for this year, but I think we will all get some kind of benefits when we visit Azerbaijan. We all know that it's Finance Cup this year, but anyway, that's a tremendous forward for our region, and I hope that will benefit for this. With regards to the data collection, I would fully agree with you. Just minor, since we have this chance to share with you the minor achievement in Georgia, we also don't have currently the climate law. So with the private sector to have a data collection, we very clearly use the opportunity offered by the UNFCCC. And when we talk to the private sector, we said, guys, if you are manageable to have this confidentiality matter, we guarantee you to have this confidentiality. And this worked. So two factors were motivated for the private sector that we used during the project implementation. First one was transition to the Article 6, and to support them to reveal what kind of mitigation potential they have. And for that, we said that, guys, we need very, very accurate data in order to estimate these possibilities, the GHG emission reductions. And if you are just a one player for one subcategory, we guarantee you to have this confidentiality. Nobody will see the data from the reports except the reviewers. When the review will take place, they will have an access to data, but not all the communities, because we will guarantee you to not be have a production level data that is very sensitive for some private companies. So that was one example how we tried to build this trust before we will have this climate law inside the country.
Thank you, Kaka. Thank you for the feedback. The next question that we have is from Per Bedlin, someone who knows this project very, very well. So over to you, Per.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Yes, great. Thank you. And indeed, my name is Per Bedlin, and I work at the European Environment Agency, and I've previously been with UNFCCC, so this is why I know this quite well, and have collaborated with Georgia quite recently. Thank you very much, everyone, for the presentations. It's been very interesting to hear. I have a question for you, Kara, in this, and it is when you've been working to putting together the reporting systems and the different data collection and the systems for this, have you had an opportunity as well to consider other reporting obligations that Georgia might have? I think you can, I think you know which one I'm thinking about in particular, but I'm also thinking about more in general, perhaps the SDGs and as well other international conventions. But obviously, I am also asking about the adaptive governance regulation. Thank you.
One of the things, thank you, Pearl, for your question. So I'd immediately answer you that the huge cooperation and huge level of synergies between the data of climate and air quality is here. So we are now under the CBIT project. We recommended to have the common system in future, and we will start to work on this, I guess, because the results are really, really nice. So that's definitely will be harmonized in nearest future. With regards to the other thing of the reporting's obligations, I would say that that the whole Georgia was so proud that we were stepping forward in getting closer with European Union. And the commitments under that is for us is to just align what is the reporting system is available under the European Union. One of the key things is that we are the developing party under the convention, and we have some kind of flexibilities under the Paris Agreement. So this all needs to be somehow aligned and to be taken into account during this process. So that would be the core thing, that how we are gonna to get closer. Commonalities are a lot. We are trying to improve our inventory system. So in a GHG inventory, we are following the IPCC guidelines as the European Union member states, and also we have the ego to move the higher tier methods, and we already achieved to reach tier 3 for some specific source categories. We already achieved to have many tier 2 methods under the IPCC. So I guess we are in a good position on this one. So with regards to the other reporting systems, so in our NDC tracking process, so we'll take into account the SDGs because the climate action plan already takes into account the SDG synergies in the activity level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have no more hands raised. Actually, right now, one hand from Fatima. Fatima, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alejandro, and thank you very much, Kaka, for this very, very interesting presentation. I see in the chat that a lot of people actually are interested in your NDC tracking platform. So I was wondering whether there is a possibility to just take us very briefly through it so that people have a quick look, and maybe we can organize another webinar specifically on that later. Thank you.
Indeed. So I don't know how many minutes we still have for just I would be happy to have the webinar specifically to concentrate it on the ITF. But what I can just now share with you very, very briefly as the thing that, let me share the screen very quickly. Do you see my screen?
We see it. We see the presentation right now.
Yeah. So now this is a system. So here is the authorization. So you have to go there. If you have if you have an access, if you're allowed to have an access, an account in a system to provide the data. But what is publicly available? This is an NDC tracking tool. This is the information of national GHG inventory disaggregated by sectors. So you see the energy sector, transport, agriculture, IPU, waste, and LULUCF. And we have also here the NDC unconditional commitments. We have some conditionalities here, but the unconditional is the one that is now tracked by Georgia. So this is an unconditional commitment. And if we move to the future years, as you see. So our the NDC implementation itself starts from 2021. Here you see 2017 and 18. This will be updated, of course, in future. But what I would like to tell you, the projections itself inside the NDC, so it was started since 2015. So the 2015 was the last year where the national GHG inventory was data taken for the projection in the future scenarios. So if you compare now with these 2 years, 2016 and 2017, we have the last column as a balance between the national GHG inventory without LULUCF and the unconditional commitment. And we have some kind of room still to emit, because we have the positives here, the 30 and around 1,000 gigagrams still available for Georgia. So this information will be updated as soon as the GHG inventory will be completed. Our sectoral experts will fill this data for until 2022 will be the last year. Well, it will be updated, and we will all see what is the process of progress of Georgia's meeting the NDC target or not. And in future, if you would be interested in the system, how it works, this is an authorization part where we can go inside, and you will see inside 2 different models. One is dedicated for the sub-national level, the municipalities, cities, you can call it like that, and the another one is related to the central government, where they are presenting the information and updating information about the mitigation activities. So that is the system currently, how it looks like. And again, if you would be interested, and we can go inside in the next meeting.
Thank you so much, Kaka, and definitely we already discussed about this, because it's a very complete tool, and I think it will be very useful to do a deep dive on this. And we see a lot of our colleagues here in the chats and in the webinar are having many questions about it. So let's definitely get into that and start. We will look forward to a webinar about this dedicated webinar in the future. Colleagues, we are running out of time, unfortunately, but I still see there are many hands raised, there are many comments, and I want to thank you all for the interest. I want to direct you to the Climate Transparency platform, because we are going to answer all of the questions that you have asked here, and even more if there are. In the Climate Transparency platform, there is one of the page called Communities of Practice. And in these communities of practice, we want to turn it into the extension of the meeting chat that we're having today, and all the existing questions, all the hand raised. We are preparing multiple communities, thematic communities of practice. One of them in this topic, in NDC tracking, data management tools, etc. And we will share a specific link dedicated to this community of practice, where we're going to be answering questions, and where we're going to be regularly checking for any questions, queries, support that you need. We'll be more than happy to have a conversation, to listen to your feedback, and to continue working together on this topic. So I want to thank you all for today. Before we leave for today, there is one very short Mentimeter questionnaire that my colleague Juliet will be sharing with you. Shortly. There is either a QR code or a numeric code that you can use to access the questionnaire. There is also a link in the chat that you can access. And I think we can see already Juliet's screen over here. Thank you, Susanna, for sharing the link for the communities of practice. Please, I do encourage all of you to write over there, to send your questions. We will also, of course, take all the questions that you have made today during the webinar and already post them in that communities of practice. We we want to have some sort of a Facebook for transparency, if that's a thing. But over to you. I can see already the Juliet is sharing her screen. Please feel free to go to the QR code or use go to menti.com and enter the code 2447-7122. Let's wait just 1 minute for all of you to log in. Please do log in and participate in this questionnaire, because it will be very helpful to assess what are your needs in terms of capacity building and knowledge sharing. It'll be good to know what you want to hear about next. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to know more? So once Juliet gives me the green light, I think we can start the questionnaire. All right, and already a lot of people have answered. This is great. So from where have you been joining us today? Let me make my screen a little bit bigger so that I can see well, but you can all see the spread. I think we're being very successful today in global reach. I have to say, I honestly did not expect so many people from LAC joining today. So really, really kudos to all of you, because I know it can be really early. Thank you so much for joining. Of course, a lot of spreading in Eurasia as well, and in Africa. We even have one dot from Pacific. Also, really kudos to you. We have some early mornings and late nights. So thank you all. Thank you all. If we can go to the next question. The next question is, how satisfied are you with the webinar? Again, we want to see if there's anything that that we didn't cover enough or we didn't cover well enough, and you want to know more. You're more than welcome. We are happy to receive feedback and to essentially listen to you, so that we can provide better support in the coming webinars and overall through the CBIT GSP project and in the climate transparency platform. In the next question, which is, what other areas would you like to see in the next webinars? It's great that we see already a lot of answers. I can immediately see tracking tool for NDC over there, do's and don'ts in CBIT projects, implementation case studies, initiative that work and don't work, challenges, phases, deep dive into project activities. This is also something we have discussed recently, opportunities for many of you to deep dive into some of the project activities or project outcomes that you have managed to achieve recently. Data management systems, NDC progress, more feedback about tracking tools. I want to mention that we will cover many of these topics in the webinar series. We will also try to cover all of these topics in the climate transparency platform through these communities of practice. We want to have all of you participating into this, providing your feedback, providing your best practice cases, your deep dives, link to your projects, link to your initiatives, etc. We're looking forward to connect with all of you and to provide support through the platform. So the next question is, what aspects of the webinar would you improve next time? More interaction, longer, extend time, more presentations. This is perfect. Thank you all so much. There's I see a lot of the same. It's okay. More presentations. So we definitely take the feedback. We'll aim to make it longer and to give more highlight to all of you, to the team, to the country teams, to the country representatives, agency representatives, etc. So that there is more space. We will also do some deep dive sessions where we focus the full hour or 2 hours or whatever in a specific activity, NDC tracking tool, etc. With this said, thank you all so much for joining. Again, thank you all for your feedback. It is incredibly useful. Thank you for the good ambience and all your participation today. And we will see you in essentially around a month in our next event, which will be focused on Panama. We will be doing it either ideally in the end of March, either before or after the Easter holidays, because we know that many of you will be off during that time. So stay tuned for our next emails. Check the next events in the climate transparency platform, And as I mentioned, we will send you a follow-up email after this webinar with all the materials, with all the useful links, the communities of practice, as well as an invitation for our next event soon. Thank you all so much. With this, this is all for today. Have a great day, all of you. And really, thank you for coming here today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Kaka.
you.
Thank you, Slajana. Thank you, really. It wouldn't have been possible without you. So really, thank you for the good work.
So Kaka is the star.
Absolutely.
With you guys, with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.